Alright guys, so I have finished watching The Boys Season 2 for the very first time, and I'm here to talk about it. So I still really enjoyed this season. I had a lot of fun with it, so don't get the wrong idea. I definitely very much enjoy this show, but I couldn't help but think that this season wasn't quite as good as season 1. And then I'm trying to think of why that is, why I think that, because when I finished season 2, I was like, I really like that, but I like season 1 a bit more. Maybe it's just personal preference, but I started to think about it a little bit more and more, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong or if you feel the same way, I think season 1 had this really good thread line through it where every episode was constantly building on the last episode. And I think season 2 spent a lot more focus doing very individualized episodes. So let me tell you what I mean. So there's like an episode that really focuses on like family and lineage. Like there's an episode that very heavily focuses on Butcher's relationship with his father, focuses on Homelander's relationship with his son. And I feel like a lot of the episodes had themes to it. There was the girls get it done theme, you know, and introducing Stormfront and the things that are going on with her and in Starlight and all those characters. So I felt like this season took a lot of care in making like each episode have its own theme. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just like thinking too much into this. Maybe season 1 did too, and I just wasn't thinking as much about it back then. I'm not really sure. But that might have been what separated season 1 and season 2 for me, just because I felt like season 1 had like a better progression episode to episode with kind of like getting to that ultimate conclusion with the series, with the season finale. And I also really did enjoy the season finale of season 2, but let me take a step back and kind of talk about it in general. So it was revealed basically in the season finale of the first season, but kind of elaborated more here in season 2, that Becca did not actually die when she gave birth to Homelander's son. That was a lie to kind of keep her hidden. They have her in a very secure location because this child is one of the only, the first child ever, essentially, I believe the first child ever, correct me if I'm wrong, that was born without needing the compound V substance in order to give them superpowers. So he was just born with superpowers at birth. Is this correct? I'm understanding this correctly. So they have him and her kind of locked in this little bit of a facility where nobody can enter. They faked her death and everything. So nobody really knows that this child exists, except Homelander now does. And he brought Billy there to show them that she was still alive, basically to torture him, and then threw him off in some like Applebee's parking lot somewhere so that he would have no idea where she was. He would just live with the torture that she is alive somewhere and that she has Homelander's child, which that in itself is like very deep punishment for a character like Butcher. Like Homelander could have just killed him. He could have just like annihilated him off the face of the planet, but letting him live with that thought that, oh yeah, by the way, your wife that you thought was dead is alive. She has a child, but it's my child and not yours. That is horrific. And now he doesn't know where she is, and like he knows all of this have happened, and like, you know, was she raped by Homelander? Like what, you know, all of this stuff that's like boggling his mind, and he has no way to get it out, no way to do anything about it. And then he's just sort of left, you know, somewhere randomly in a parking lot, and also him and all of the rest of the boys are wanted criminals at this point. So that was a great way to start the season, and I love the idea of the torture behind that and what that would do to a guy like Butcher and his whole like mind frame, which is very unhinged as it is. And that also kind of parallels to Homelander, who is also extremely unhinged. But the thing about Homelander, and I said this in my season 1 review, is that I was expecting a very different character when I went into The Boys. And that's not anything against The Boys, that's just my own perception. Because when I hear of the evil Superman archetype, I was thinking more of like an Omni-Man from Invincible, and that is not what Homelander is. Homelander is this guy that is deeply obsessed with his image and his portrayal and people looking up to him and people loving him and people, you know, feeding his ego constantly, whether that's the corporation that he works for or just the general public. Like he needs that public perception to see him as a hero, right? He is this horrible person and he does these horrible things, but he is not letting that become part of his persona out in the world. And he puts on this mask. He puts on the mask of the Superman type character, and he has to have everyone believe that he's doing the right thing at all times. When there's controversies that come out, like him killing somebody in the Middle East by accident, you know, there's video footage, you know, he tries to rectify that. So the thing about Homelander is like he could essentially enslave the entire world if he wanted to, but he doesn't because how he's viewed is very, very important to him, and it's part of his identity. And really, he is like this child that's constantly looking for approval. And this is why that was so strange to me in season 1, but makes a little bit more sense as you get into season 2, is that, seeing him wanting to be mommied so much by, I'm sorry, I forgot her character, but the original like head of the corporation in the first season, and how he's constantly drinking milk and how he constantly wants that approval. And even when he meets Stormfront, and I'll get into her in a second, it's like he's constantly looking for this approval and validation from other people, and that is how he lives his life, and he can't live his life without that. Like, he needs that approval. So this limits him a lot with his powers and ability, because even though he does have the power to fantasize about laser beaming the entire crowd as he does, he would never actually do it, at least at this point in the story, because that perception is very, very important to him. And it's not important to save the company of Vought, it's important to his identity of who he is as a person. And I think that a lot of this season with Homelander is trying to focus on who he is. Like, he is trying to figure out who he is, because he was always babied before, and now he doesn't have that mother figure. And like the scene where he has the doppelganger character like pretend to be here, it's just like, oh god, bro. Yeah, but then when doppelganger pretends to be himself, Homelander like chokes him out. It's like he can't bear to view the mask of himself. I feel like that was the true Homelander, basically choking out how he is, how do I want to say this? Like, how he needs to be perceived, like this fake version of him, like, fuck you, I hate you, like, I can do whatever I want. At the end of the season, he's like jacking off on top of the building. I could do whatever I want. And that's the thing, is like, that's how he feels on the inside, because he knows I can do whatever I want, but he still is limited. He's still limited by people giving him ultimatums and his public perception and all of these things. So like, he is on the cusp of becoming extremely unhinged, but he doesn't go that far in this season. This season is sort of like him trying to figure out his identity and like who he actually is. And a lot of that also comes through with his child, because in Homelander's like fucked up mind, he is actually legitimately trying to be a father figure to his child. He's not doing it to torture Becca. At least I don't think so. He's not doing it to torture Butcher. I mean, he is having fun with the fact that he can sort of like outpower both of them, but at the same time, I think he's actually legitimately trying to be a father figure. Like in his mind, he is doing the right thing. And he's not doing it with the intention to be like a horrible dickish person that he just naturally is, because that's just who he naturally is. So I found that dynamic to be very, very interesting, and I liked him just doing like things like, pushing his child off the building to see if he would fly, and, then taking him away. And then he did do things too that were like very fatherly in a way, where the kid gets, kind of scared within the crowd of people, gets too anxious, anxiety rises up, and he like takes him out of there. So I do think that there's an aspect of Homelander where, he is trying to do right by this kid. It's Homelander trying to do right by the kid. Then I gotta talk about Stormfront. Oh my god, I fucking hated this character. I think that was the intention, because obviously she's like a dickish, like racist piece of shit. But at the same time, like, it's just her like snooty, sarcastic, bratty attitude that I couldn't stand. Because like, I've known people like that in my life, and I just can't stand being around them. Like, everything is fake, everything is sarcastic, everything is bratty, and it's just like, you just have the worst fucking attitude in the world. Like, I can't stand you. So she was extremely annoying. When her and Homelander hooked up, I was rolling my eyes the entire time. I was just like, Jesus Christ, like, we gotta go down this road. So like, very, very cathartic in the finale, seeing her, I would have preferred just seeing her like beat to death by Kimiko and the other characters there, but she did meet her fate at the hands of Ryan, so I guess it is a little bit more cathartic that a character named Ryan kicked her ass. You know what? That makes me feel a little bit better. I don't condone hitting women unless they're super powered and trying to kill you. The other thing I really liked about this season was Kimiko's character. I really liked how they introduced her brother and the sort of conflict that they had between one another. And then, of course, seeing Stormfront kill her brother right in front of her gave her the motivation that she needed sort of moving forward. So I liked seeing a little bit more from her, especially the fact that she's a silent character. They are able to make her communicate a little bit with the sign language and stuff, but I'm wondering if they will ever get to the point where maybe she's able to speak a little bit. I don't know if that would ruin her character or not, but I enjoy her character a lot. So so it would be nice to hear her speak at some point, but I understand that that's not going to happen. There were other things that bothered me, though. I didn't really like the Deep this season at all, in anything that was going on with his story. Whenever it would cut back to the Deep, I just really didn't care. I also thought they took A-Train down a peg, which he's dealing with a lot of shit, so it makes sense, but A-Train was very, very scary and intimidating in season 1, and season 2, he's not so much. So, yeah, I don't know how I felt about that. I also do really appreciate that they took the actor from the X-Men movies that plays Iceman, and they had him be Lamplighter, with like flame abilities in this season, which I thought was really funny and ironic. I would have preferred him to stay around a little bit longer, but he did have a nice little 2 to 3 episode arc there that I enjoyed. But the thing about the Asylum segment, where they went in, where they're doing all this testing on characters that are having superpowers, there was one thing that there's 2 things about it that bothered me. There was one where a character gets out, it's a girl with a shaved head, and she has this ability to basically just like crush things into nothing with using her hand. Like she's able to like crush the door, she explodes a person, reminds me of the beginning of Elven Lied. It was crazy, which is awesome, but how was she just like behind a door in this asylum and not able to escape with a power that's that devastating? Like, we saw her break the door down on a different location that didn't look like a different door than what she was behind. So it just seemed a little weird to me that her power was so extreme and they were able to keep her just behind a locked door. I don't know. And then there was also the moment where Huey gets injured in the car flip and they need to get him to a hospital. But, like, they're, like, the most wanted group in the world. So how did he go to a hospital to get treated? Like, I was expecting them to show up at, like, some, like, Breaking Bad, like, in the back of, like, some veterinary office, like, somewhere, like, shady where they have barely any tools to work with. Like, I thought it was going to be a whole thing. But he just goes to an actual hospital. And I was like, how is he in a hospital when they're, like, so wanted? And Butcher's there, too. It's not like they just dropped him off at the doorstep. They're in the room with him. So, I don't know. That was a little weird to me. Not enough to ruin the season, but still. The guy with the penis power, though, that was pretty cool. Didn't expect to see a giant penis wrap around MM's neck this season, so, yep. But I think my favorite episode of the season was the season finale, and I think that had to do with the culmination of the dynamic between Homelander and Butcher. Now, seeing Stormfront, choking out Ryan's mom right in front of him causes him to use his powers, but obviously he doesn't really know how to use them, destroys her, but also winds up wounding his mom in the process. And I thought this moment was actually pretty tragic. I really liked the way that they did it. The child actor aside, just the scene itself where it happened, because Butcher earlier in the season, he really desperately wants to get his wife out, but he doesn't really care about the kid. Like, he cares about him to the extent because Becca cares about him, and I get it, man. I get it. Like, essentially, you lost your wife to this person impregnated your wife, and now they have a kid, and, like, you're supposed to have feeling and attachment to this kid who is essentially your wife's rapist, who's, like, the most horrible human being in the entire world. Like, I could understand, like, having resentment to that kid. It makes perfect sense. So then taking Becca out of the equation, and now this kid, who the kid himself is innocent. Like, I understand having resentment towards the fact that the kid exists, but, like, the kid himself is innocent. So Butcher's in this place where it's like, what do you, like, he spent all of this time to, like, get his wife out, and now all he's left with is this child that's not his child, and it's like, what the fuck do you do, man? And then Homelander comes down, and then this moment, where Homelander is defeated because Mauve says that she's going to release the video footage of the plane crash from season 1. So again, like, worrying about his perception is sort of like his ego and how he's perceived is basically his greatest weakness, along with him just having this, like, baby, needing to be babied, just wanting approval, I guess, just wanting that approval and acceptance. So, that was a quick way to get Homelander out of there, but I thought the whole scene was done very, very well, so I'm interested to see where that's going to go moving forward in Season 3. I've been told by people that Season 3 is the best, so I'm looking forward to that. I still really enjoyed the season. Like I said, I prefer Season 1 overall, but I still really enjoyed the season, so looking forward to Season 3. Let me know what you guys thought about The Boys Season 2. Put all your thoughts and ideas down there. Try not to spoil Season 3. I'm going to get on it as soon as I can, hopefully get the review out soon for you guys, but yeah, like I said, I enjoyed it overall, just enjoyed Season 1 a little bit more. So let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up and a comment if you enjoyed it. Interaction will help it be seen in the algorithm a little bit better. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you next time.